Hey, welcome back to the Love Fashionably podcast. I'm so excited that you joined me again on this Monday night or whenever you're watching this replay. Thanks for just taking the time and just checking it out. If you don't know, I always like to start our podcast by saying a big thank you to BGTV Studios. If you are unaware, they are a podcast network that is happening here in Birmingham, Alabama, where there are new podcasts that are being added pretty much daily now, I feel like, where they're happening all throughout the week, all nights of the week, several every night, probably 5 or 6 a night. So definitely check out bgtvstudios.com for a full list of all the podcast ways that maybe you can get involved, ways to send a prayer request if you have a question or a comment. You can also check out BGTV Studios on Facebook and YouTube. That's where you can watch those videos. You probably already know about one of those because you're watching this right now. But of them, definitely check out YouTube. That's where I tried to send a lot of people that I talk to because I just feel like it's easier to track and kind of see the history there. So, again, on all social media platforms, Love Fashionably is on all the social media platforms. So, if you like to, you can give me a follow too. But I hope that you are having a great week. Sorry I missed you guys last Monday. You probably still hear a little bit of my voice if you are just checking me out for the first time. You're like, that girl kind of sounds a little weird. I've been battling a sickness for about the past week and a half. I was supposed to record for last week and was lost my voice, and so I'm still kind of getting over that. So bear with me. I may have to stop, drink some water, kind of this sinus medicine, if you know it dries you out too. So we're just making it work today. But I'm so excited that you are here with me tonight. I do tend to pre-record these, so just to kind of catch you up. If you're watching this at a later date, this is being filmed around the time I just had a birthday. So happy birthday to me. My birthday tends to fall. I'm a big, as you know, well, if this is your first time, but you may not know, but I'm a big Alabama fan. And so my birthday tends to always fall on Bama LSU weekend, which before this year was always the deciding game on if Bama was going to the SEC championship. So it was always a really big thing. I was like, that's always, my big birthday win, my big Bama birthday win. So we celebrated it with me and one of my best friends in college. Her birthday is actually the day after mine. And so that was kind of like our friends thing. We would always sit together, our families, tailgate, for the game and things like that. So it's kind of just always been something fun to celebrate around my birthday. This year, however, I got the election, which, could have really gone one way or the other. Luckily for me, it turned out well. My team, I guess, again, won. I was still cheering for a team for my birthday, so I guess, that kind of still works. So that was fun. I had a national countdown to my birthday, which was nice. I appreciate that. But, it was still kind of, again, I guess something fun to celebrate. But I've kind of mentioned before that, this fall I've been making some changes. I've just been doing some things differently. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So I've just been doing a few things, changing a few things differently. And recently I started helping out lead a small group for 12th grade girls. And so if you are one of the 12th grade girls, hey, thanks for checking it out. I know we've talked about it a little bit. So they kind of actually inspired the kind of thought process behind this podcast tonight. We've been talking a lot about light, how God created light, how he is light, and how we can shine his light in the world. And so when I originally started to kind of put my thoughts together and gather some scriptures, I thought we would just kind of sit here and talk about some of these scriptures and kind of the ways and things that, they've kind of been teaching me and we've been talking about. But in light of recent events in our country, as I started to put some more notes together, it kind of changed a little bit. And so we'll kind of see where this heads. I just want to think of this more as like a conversation, even though you're not here to have this with me. Just kind of we're just going to be chatting a little bit. And of course, we'll get to some of those scriptures too. But, I was thinking back, like, on the election. So it just happened. I know it's been a big thing in our country for a while. I know everybody's glad to have all of those text messages and commercials done with for the year. We get a break. So, but I felt like it was a big win for Christians in our country. And I think a lot of the times this can be a bit of a taboo topic. A lot of times we want to kind of talk about it a little bit, but only, like you're kind of filling it out. It's like one of those things you're like, do you not want to talk? I don't know. It's always, I don't know. I've just always perceived it as kind of weird, but I feel like it's really a good time for us as Christians to really take a stand in our country. I feel like it was seen, and now we have a greater opportunity that what God wants to do. I don't really care when I look for a presidential candidate. I'm not looking at like race, color, size, shape. I'm looking at my beliefs and and I think that's what most people do. But, my personal beliefs and values that are important to me and someone that aligns in that, because we know that there is no perfect person on this earth. There's no perfect thing. There's no perfect relationship, spouse, car, presidential candidate. We're always looking for that perfect thing, for that perfect outfit for the special occasion, or for that perfect car that you want. But we know that there is nothing perfect this side of heaven, that Jesus is not here. So there's no one perfect on earth. And, a lot of times I kind of learned this myself, because you'll be like wearing that cute new outfit and you'll like rip it, or it'll like tear, or you'll be driving your cute new car on the interstate and there goes a rock and you're like, great. And I've just learned to tell myself that nothing is perfect. And it'll kind of release that pressure of feeling like I've got to have it all together. It's nothing. Nothing is perfect. And so I think when we know that, then we're able to walk in a little bit more freedom. But I do believe that what we have recently seen or experienced is God hearing his people and answering his people. I know that as you pray and you see that probably in your own life, or, there's, someone needs a miracle and you see it within a small group. But I think we saw it on a really large level of where when God's people call his name, he will respond. And it even says, in the Bible, that God appoints authority. And I think he appoints it appropriately, from his children. Look at the Old Testament. You can see, there were good times and there were bad times. And he responds to how his children, sometimes he'll give them what they want, even though it may not be what they want. And how many of you know that you're like very thankful that he doesn't always give us what we want, because it's not always what we need. But in Romans 13, verses 1 through 8, it says, every person must submit to and support the authorities over him. For there can be no authority in the universe except by God's appointment, which means that every authority that exists has been instituted by God. So to resist authority is to resist the divine order of God, which results in severe consequences. For civil authorities don't intimidate those who are doing good, but those who are doing evil. So do what is right, and you'll never need to fear those in authority. They will commend you for your good citizenship. Those in authority are God's servants for the good of society. But if you break the law, you have reason to be alarmed, for they are God's agents of punishment to bring criminals to justice. Why do you think they carry weapons? You are compelled to obey them, not just to avoid punishment, but because you want to live with a clean conscience. This is also the reason for your payment for taxes, for governmental authorities or God's officials who oversee these things. So it is your duty to pay all taxes and fees that they require. I know we don't like to hear that one, especially if you're a 1099 person. That's just kind of a side note. I was a 1099 contract for a while, and man, you don't like to hear that one. You need to pay all of your taxes. You're like, oof, That's a lot. But anyway, getting back. So you're required and to respect those who are worthy of respect, honoring them accordingly. Don't owe anything to anyone except your outstanding debt to continually love one another. For the one who learns to love has fulfilled every requirement of the law. I love the ending of that about honor and love because that's very important. It's kind of a topic for another day. I really do love that kind of concept, though, because honor does bring a lot of blessings into your life when you honor those people that God places in authority in your life. But we see here in the very first verse there that God appoints authority. And then at the end of it, we see that it is our job as a Christian to honor that appointed authority. Whether, again, it is of a nation, whether it's in your household, maybe you are, still under the authority of your parents, or you have a boss at work. And sometimes it's a lot easier to do that than other times. A lot of times we're like, my boss is evil. When you see that as evil, someone is evil in a place of authority, it can be really hard to submit to that. But good or evil, whatever we may think our perspective is, God still gives us that command. And, not to really get into a political debate, because I don't have the words for that, nor do I really think that deep into it, nor do I have the really time to kind of figure that out. I've got a life, and I'm just kind of like a surface. But I really do think it's important as a Christian in our country at this time in history that there was something that really shifted, because we saw Christians draw a line in the sand. Like, we don't stand for that anymore. And I feel like it's opening a door of opportunity for Christians in our country to be able to share more boldly and to be able to be a light to others, maybe a little bit more easily than it has been. Just to kind of give like a little bit of like one type of perspective. So as I mentioned, I am on social media. I started a blog a long time ago. I'm a social media blogger. I had like the whole web page, but now I just do it on Instagram. And so, being a conservative Christian on a liberal social media platform, that can be very interesting. You may have experienced that before. When you're trying to be a blogger, there are a lot of social media engagement requirements. I don't know if that really makes sense. I think if you're a casual user, you don't really understand this. But if you're trying to like make a little cash on the side, or, trying to really get your name out there, then you learn that you have to like, comment, save, send. And like, every year it like grows. It's like you have to do all these other things. It's like you can't just like post something and be like, okay, social media, whatever, behind the scenes, go do your work, like just put it out there and it just does it. Like there's all these things that have to come in, you have to like do. And then there's the rules within the rules. Like, you can't like post something that can be too conservative, or if you post like your view as a Christian, like, you can be shadow banned, which I have felt that before. I even had my page taken away from me one time, saying I did something when I didn't. I had to fight to get it back, which is just crazy to think that, because we are a country with free speech. But when you look at the way that we put free speech out there, it's really not as free as it seems. So to have those kind of, I don't know, it was weird. It was kind of like just a weird thing that happened, and it just kind of opened my eyes. And this past year, I really felt God telling me not to do all of those things anymore, because, I was in these groups and majority had like the same values that I did, but there were some that didn't really have the same values that I lined up with. But in order to be able to post my post so I could get the engagement and the likes that I need, I had to comment, do all the things on theirs. And it just kind of, every time I'd see it, it was just kind of like, I don't really know. So I really just took my hands off of it this year. And yes, I've, lost, because I'm not following the social media rules. I'm not like getting all of, the exposure that I want, or that I'd hoped for, or the numbers don't look right, or, different things like that. But, I share all of that because kind of like, I don't know, just a weird kind of things to share, like just my take on it, like what I've personally experienced, what I've seen. And, there is I guess, rules in our country. There's a constitution that was put in place that men that fought to give us the freedoms that we have here today, to where we can say what we want to say and post what we want to post. Maybe you just want to post a picture of you and your kids or your dog because you think it's cute, but I don't know, it's weird. But I do, just to kind of come back, I do think that God hears the prayers and the cries of his children, and he appoints the appropriate authority based on what we ask. If we're not asking, why does he want to give? But I do think that this is a time, and I feel more than ever, for Christians, the bride of Christ, to kind of have her moment in America. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that there's going to be like this more, I don't know, it just kind of seems like there's going to be more of this freedom, to where you're going to be more free to say, yes, I believe in Jesus. Where I feel like there used to be that years ago when I was growing up, there used to be nothing. And then it's like over the past few years, you just felt like your hands were so tied when you wanted to share publicly. And now I feel like those chains are kind of coming off, and we are going to have this ability to shine our light and to shine the light of Jesus. But again, nothing changes if nothing changes. So we have to take that into action. It could be kind of like this moment where in John 1, verse 6 through 9, it says, God sent a man, John the Baptist, to tell about the light so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John himself was not the light. He was simply a witness to tell about the light. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. And I don't know, I just kind of wrote down this question as I was thinking about it, like, what if this is our John the Baptist moment in America? What if this is our moment to kind of step up and to have this time, however long God allows it, to where we can be this light to tell about the light that is to come, because he's coming, and he's coming very quickly. I mean, one vote, one night, it doesn't change what's happening in America. Let's be honest. We're not naive to that it's going to take a lot of work, but there is light and there is darkness. And I think the lines really clearly, we're starting to see them very drawn. And it's like, what side are you going to be on? Or are you going to be more bold? Are you going to share your light? What does that look like? We've talked about that in our small group with the girls. And I think a lot of times we really want to overcomplicate that. We think that it has to be some grand gesture. But really sharing the light of Jesus, or showing the light of Jesus, is the love of Jesus is just like doing the small acts every day in your life. People notice a lot more than what you think they will, and they'll know just by, maybe following the rules, maybe like how God said, following the authority that he's placed you under to open you up. But kind of just this one little thought I had as I was kind of praying and thinking about the election. We talked about like the bride of Christ, which, as the Christians, she's really in a bad state in America, in the world. Just kind of, we're talking about America, so we'll kind of stick to that one. But, throughout the world, she's in a really bad state. Like, she's not ready for the wedding. Like, if you know a bride, it takes a lot of work to get ready for the wedding. And I don't feel like she's ready, but maybe this kind of moment that we're having in our country right now can be like that dividing line, to where it's like the engagement. It's the coming back. It can be like that part, to where maybe there is going to be a little bit more. Maybe you're going to feel a little bit bolder. Maybe you're going to feel a little bit more challenged to be out there, to be a brighter, to shine your light a little bit brighter. Well, what does that look like? Again, it's not anything grand, but maybe it is going to take a little action on your part to kind of step out where maybe you've been hidden, maybe you've been afraid, maybe you've been scared as a Christian in America. But now it's not the time to be scared. Now it's the time to be more bold than I think we really have ever been before, because God heard and he's given us a moment. And I think now is the time for us to answer back and to put into action and to do the things that he's been telling us to do for, honestly, probably years. But just whatever he's telling you to do in your life, to take that next step and to be more bold. In John 1:5, it says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. So I'm really excited about what our future holds. I mean, it's the holidays. So, well, I say it's holidays. I know it's still November, but Christmas is here. I'm fully decorated at my house. So, like, I feel like the end of the year, everybody really starts to get really excited, really hopeful because there's new things coming. There's a new year coming, and kind of already thinking about that maybe a little bit prematurely. But there's hopeful times ahead. There's exciting times ahead. So I think just continuing to look again for those opportunities to where you can just shine your light a little bit bolder for Jesus. Okay. My mouth is really dry after talking about all that. I think that's the most I've talked in like a week and a half. And anyway, but thanks for joining me on this Monday night. Let me know in the comments. I kind of want that to kind of be more of our little conversation area. So if you're watching this, be sure to like it, share it with your friends if you thought it was okay, but definitely leave a comment. Leave like your thoughts. What are your thoughts, your questions, your concerns about what you think is happening now, or maybe even just something you want us to talk about later in the future. But thanks for joining me. I hope that you have a great rest of your night and a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here next Monday night.